Stout, member Kent, usted fue allá.
Good morning, Commissioner Stout. Can you hear us?
Morning.
If you want to get started, we'll...
I need to move my topics.
Ready when you are, guys.
Stand by everyone.
Thank you. We needed an audience. It's so quiet.
We
Go
are
ahead.
trying to make sure the HR team can get out of here a little bit early. Today's the funeral for our employee. And so we're trying to make sure they can... That's the funeral? Yes. And then they're having a reception following.
Oh,
Go ahead, Caesar, we're ready.
So, yes, okay, thank you.
Good morning. Today is Thursday, November 18th, 2021. Commissioners Court is meeting in special open session. Would you please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 is public comment. We do not have any members of the public that have signed up online or in person for public comment, so we'll take no action on item 3. Judge, do you have any opening comments for us this morning?
yeah, just welcome you to our special session, and thank you for being here. We've got HR in the audience, so that always makes it better that we have you there. So thank you very much, and on behalf of our commissioners and myself, we welcome you today, and you have a wonderful day and a great weekend. Thank you.
Item number 4 from the regular agenda. Pursuant to the Texas Local Government Code, Section 115.021, audit and settle all accounts against the county shown on the attached listing and direct the payment of those accounts.
This is our normal bill pay. We'd ask that the court move to approve this item.
We've got Edward will be...
Edward is
That's
online,
correct.
sir?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
We just have the paid claims, manual paid claims, payroll for your approval, total of 658 paid claim items. As Betsy recommended, your approval would be requested.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions, let me know.
No, thank you. Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Edward.
Commissioner Holguin,
Aye.
Commissioner Leon,
Aye.
Commissioner Stout. Commissioner Stout?
He's frozen on the screen.
We'll try to get him back online.
We lose him?
I believe he's frozen. We're going to call him back into the call, so just give us one moment, please. Commissioner Stout?
Yeah, sorry, I got cut off there. I don't know if you finished the vote, but I'll vote aye if you haven't.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Robinson is absent. Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Item number 5. Approve amendment number 6 to the County of El Paso's 2021-2022 operating budget. This budgetary amendment will increase grants by $426,012.85, thus increasing the overall budget of $506,951,765.64 to $507,377,778.49.
Judge, Commissioners, this item was included in the backup. It's our weekly, or our budget adjustment. If there's any questions, we have Aubrey online from the Budget Department.
Hi, Aubrey, welcome. Any comments,
I just had a quick question, Judge.
Go ahead.
So I know we were waiting for the City of El Paso to approve the DIMS agreement, and I see we're setting up the account. So does that mean that the city already signed the agreement?
No, ma'am, I do not believe they've signed the agreement yet. We're still waiting for them to send the agreement back to us. Let me double check that. But so they're setting up the account, I believe, in anticipation of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Move to approve. Second?
Commissioner Holguin.
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
Commissioner Stout.
Aye.
Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to the items for human resources. Item number 7, receive a presentation regarding the Army Partnership for Youth Success Program and provide direction to staff on participation in the program.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners.
morning.
Michelle Cochran with the Human Resources Department. The purpose of today's agenda item is to provide an overview presentation to the court about the Army's Partnership for Youth Success, or the PAYS program. Further, staff is seeking your direction for participation by the county in this program. In August of this year, the HR department and the county's VA program manager, Carl Dwyer, met with James, or Jim Mead, regarding this program. Mr. Mead will be joining us shortly to review this program with us. Should the court provide direction to proceed with the program, staff will then work with Mr. Mead to move to the next step, which is obtaining an MOU for our regular review and approval process. While this item today was reviewed by legal, we cannot get a full legal assessment until we have the MOU and are able to work out the terms of that agreement. Should the MOU be appropriate and pass our legal review, it will be on a future court item for approval. We would like to note that should the court approve to move forward with the program, we will be cautious in the terms of the MOU as to not create a veteran's preference, because as you recall years ago, it was advised that it causes an adverse impact to females. So we will be cautious in the development of that agreement to not give that adverse liability or impact to the county. At this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Jim Mead with the Army. He's online with us today.
Welcome, Jim.
Hey, good evening, Judge, or good afternoon, excuse me. Good morning, actually. It's the first time I've been privy to be in front of a council such as this. I'm kind of excited. I was really excited to see that you guys led off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I got goosebumps, I ain't gonna lie. And I ain't gonna lie also, I stood up right here at my house in San Antonio and I had my right hand over my heart as well. So thank you guys for having me.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Okay, so I have some slides prepared. And I wanted to run through these, kind of hit the wave tops of the program so it would save time for any questions that you may have after the presentation. So PAYS stands for the Partnership for Youth Success. The program was designed to help those that join the Army transition into the civilian world once their contractual obligation is up. So PACE has been around for 21 years, and the partners that are partnered with the United States Army, currently there's 1,054 across the United States, and those organizations are anywhere from grassroots companies to Fortune 500, Global 100, all your uniform services such as fire, police, medical, and also the municipalities and cities. We actually have 4 states that are actual partners with the United States Army, one of which is in my 11-state footprint, which is the state of Kansas. Recently, I just brought on the city of San Antonio, so I'm really excited. Tomorrow, we'll be downtown with Lieutenant General Evans, who's the commander of the Army North, and the Mayor Nuremberg will be signing the ceremonial memorandum of agreement, or MOU, as it's been referred to as here. The neat thing about this program is when a soldier decides to join the Army and raise his or her right hand, they have the ability to pick 5 PACE partners to interview with when they get done with their contractual obligation. One caveat there is the fact that the Army Reserve and National Guard has now been made a part of the program. So when a soldier serves contractually on active duty, then they come back from that duty, they're released from the Army, they can interview with these 5 PACE partners and subsequently be hired. When you're dealing with the Army Reserve and National Guard, those soldiers are eligible to be interviewed and subsequently hired as soon as they return from their initial training, and that includes basic training and their job training that they'll do for the Army. Next slide, please. So you know when you get a PACE soldier, or a soldier period, from the United States Army, you get someone that's drug-free, you get somebody that's had an extensive background check, they're physically fit, they're morally fit, and after retiring from the Army last year, after 30 years, 25 active, 5 reserve, I can attest that the young soldiers that are coming out of the Army today are morally, socially, and emotionally more aware than their peer group, more mature, if you will. And if you see at the bottom here, from day one, soldiers are instilled with the 7 Army values of loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. These are probably words that are sprinkled through and throughout the County of El Paso mission statement, vision, strategy, etc. Next slide. So the cycle of availability, as referred to before, regular Army soldiers who are active duty, they serve their 2, 4, or 6 years contractually, and then they can be interviewed and subsequently hired once their contractual obligation is up. Now, when it comes to the Army Reserve and the National Guard, that is immediately upon their return from their training, their basic training, and what we call their AIT, the Advanced Individual Training, which is the job training that they'll do for the Army. ROTC cadets, it's the same thing, except for the fact that the Reserve and National Guard components, they will have to complete their BOLC, B-O-L-C, which is their basic officer leader course. Next slide. So some of the roles and responsibilities to make this program work. The Army's job is to nominate corporate, state, and local agencies for partnerships. And then I go ahead and I vet them to make sure that, that we can get the permission to pursue. We can do this overview as we're doing right now and then move forward with the paperwork. The soldiers and cadets, they need to have that, honorable discharge. They need to serve faithfully in the Army Reserve or National Guard. PACE partners, for you guys, it would be just making sure that I have a point of contact and we work to get the job titles and everything loaded onto the system to make sure the hiring needs are in our database. And of course, the PACE team, myself, you get a dedicated marketing analyst, as well as our IT team out of Fort Knox. Next slide. So the process, once this overview is over and it is decided that you guys want to move forward, I create what's called a memorandum of agreement through our system. The memorandum of agreement is basically a 5-page handshake. There's nothing legally binding, there's nothing contractual, because it is a free program. And once that memorandum of agreement is created, it is sent to the U.S. Army's Training and Doctrine Command, which is at Fort Eustis, where General Funk, who's a 4-star general, the commanding general of TRADOC, will sign. Once it's signed, it's packaged and sent out to you guys, and whoever you deem to be the signature authority for that memorandum of agreement Once you sign, you are now partnered. And then what we do is we go into action with getting your points of contact access to our system. And then I'll do some training with them to make sure that they're up on the system. And then we'll do follow-up training as well. And then after that, we start planning a signing ceremony, much like what we're doing tomorrow for the city of San Antonio downtown. It's a time to celebrate, put it on Front Street, and let you guys, and let the public know that you're now partnered with the United States Army. Next slide. So here are the benefits. As we've spoken before, it's a free program, and you get quality veteran candidates. You get a supported marketing analyst, myself, who's dedicated to your guys' hiring needs. Diversity, you get to take advantage of a large, diverse candidate pool. Our Army looks like our communities. So that's the neat thing about that. Proven experience, honorable discharge. You have your online resources. You have quality in all the candidates because they meet the highest mental, moral, and physical standards. And the one at the bottom here is a big one. You all will be able to use the Army logo, the star that you see in the upper left-hand corner of this slide. You'll be able to use for your recruiting needs. And then that star is as recognizable as, Shell Oil, Tesla, 7-Eleven, just some of the large companies that I have in my 11-state footprint. The other thing too is when you're talking about maybe a career fair or a hiring fair or a presentation, you might have somebody from a prior service from another branch, like let's say the Air Force. They see that Army logo and they automatically know that you guys are veteran friendly. So it could lure other prior service branched, individuals. And I will tell you, this is an Army-centric program, and that is because of the enormity of the Army. The Army is larger than the other branches of service put together. So this is Army only. But going back to what Michelle had stated during the introduction, the interview is merely a conversation with a qualified soldier. If the conversation leads to another conversation, which leads to potential employment, that's great. If the conversation leads to, hey, we're not sure you're a great fit, then it's, hey, thank you for your service, appreciate your time, and best of luck. Because that's why the Army has decided to give them 4 other selections. So the hope is that one of the 5, the soldier will be able to land the job and then therefore be reintegrated into the civilian world. Next slide. And these are our social media platforms. So we do more than just work on the system with your job titles. We post new job openings on our socials. We tag each other in our social media posts to get the good news stories, to get the job openings, get the accomplishments, that kind of stuff out in the open. And of course, we can share upcoming events and connect you to soldiers, maybe that aren't a part of the PACE program, but maybe looking for employment as well. Next slide. And this is my information. I'm always available. I can be reached by email, phone, or even text message. And ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time. And what questions can I answer for you at this time?
Michelle, do you have anything else before we comment? Or?
No, Judge, just here for questions with
Okay.
Mr.
No,
Mead as
Jim,
well.
I just want to, I don't know how much you know about our community, but I can't tell you how much we do for veterans. And, we just have been extremely active. Our county has a large number of veterans. Our Carl, who is in our department, our Veterans Department, but we do so much. And I recall, there was a time when they got out of the military and they felt that, they were done and they didn't feel that connection. When they started Soldier for Life, that sort of really helped. We have a survey that we put out, and we happen to be we had the highest participation of any of the 3 cities that had taken the survey. But just wanted to let you know that we're extremely excited because we do have tremendous success with veterans coming out. We're very respectful about their skills and leadership skills, and so I see it as an amazing partnership that adds to our initiatives to really be just not to correct you, but one time in a group of veterans, I said we were veteran friendly, and he goes, "What does that mean? Having a cup of coffee with a veteran?" He goes, "So we've changed it to veteran ready community." So that just to let in anything, any dimension, whatever it is they decide to stay. We do lose quite a few that come out of Fort Bliss. We lose them to other cities, and so if we already start this ability to either hire them, would really begin to allow us to take advantage of this recruitment process. So, Jim, we really thank you, and I think we're very open to that. And so I don't know if there's any other comments from anyone else. Commissioner Robinson, who is a veteran himself, is on our court here. Commissioner, any
Thank
comments?
you, Judge. Thank you for your service, first of all. Now, how many people would you have enrolled in the program now?
Well, as many soldiers, I believe we're well over 20,000 that are enrolled. But as mentioned earlier, when we're talking contractually, the 2, 4, or 6 years, 6 years from now is 2027. So we have soldiers all the way in the funnel all the way up until then. As far as partners, companies and organizations that are partnered with the United States Army, we have 1,054 right now.
How does San Antonio fare compared to El Paso?
Well, the city of San Antonio is much like the county of El Paso, or city of San Antonio, yeah, and county of El Paso. Very much the same. Government, municipality. There's really no bookends to the job needs, and there's, even though San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the United States, there is a hiring need. And what we're seeing across the board is for all organizations, whether civilian, military, or government, there's a need for people in those organizations. But I love El Paso. I was stationed out there for 2 years, one of which I was attending the Sergeant's Major Academy. That community strikes me as one that is ripe for the taking as far as the veteran benefit of this program. Because right now there's only one partner in the city of El Paso out there, and it's Western Technical College. And they do fairly well, albeit they're a community college dealing with auto mechanic type jobs, but there aren't any other partners in El Paso. The city of San Antonio actually is a partner now, the city is, but in the surrounding area that I have around here, I have 19 partners surrounding the city of San Antonio. So when a soldier joins out of San Antonio, they have 19 options. When a soldier joins out of El Paso, they only have 1. And then once we bring you all aboard, they'll have 2. And I'm working with the city of El Paso as well. And I was there just a couple months ago, and I briefed the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce on, trying to drum up the partnerships out there, because the more partnerships a soldier has when they join the Army out of El Paso, the more options they have to stay there. Is there any other? Did that answer your question? I know we took the scenic view to that one.
No, you're doing okay, So, what is your tie-in, or relationship with the Chamber of Commerce? Are they part of your makeup?
Well, whenever we're dealing with municipalities and government organizations, I always try to get in front of the Chamber of Commerce. I think it's a great way of spreading the word, because some companies and organizations don't qualify for the partnerships, but most do. And that's a way to do a one-shot, get in there and let everyone know about the program. I have briefed the Chamber of Commerce in San Antonio here. And as far as El Paso, I haven't briefed the overall Chamber of Commerce, but I was able to get in front of 27 different individuals representing 27 different companies with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce a couple months ago. So I believe the chambers of commerce in any municipality can be a force multiplier.
Jim, so you also qualify the company. That's good to hear. You qualify, like not every, I know Western Tech is amazing. I mean, they're one of our big partners, and, they just do so much. And now I'm thinking, how long have they been? Because I thought I'd seen the logo on their advertisement.
Your Honor, I believe they've been since 2015, but I can find that out. I don't want to switch away from the video on my laptop, because if I do, I may lose the connection. But I believe they've been a partner for a few years now, but before, well before I became on board. Yeah. So.
Well, obviously we're really excited that we're trying to recruit people in quality. We do have a demand. We're getting a lot of companies wanting to come into El Paso. And when that happens, we need to, offer them the personnel that's required. And so we're always looking for recruitment. And we said, having a veteran is an additional plus. So I think we'd make a great partner. And I'm glad that we'll be first before the city. I'm just saying that.
Yeah,
But
no
thank you.
worries. And I'll do whatever I can, sir, to make sure that, the process is smooth, at least from our end. I know the memorandum of agreement will have to be vetted through the legal, which that's just protocol and procedure. But there again, there's nothing legally binding about it. It's a 5-page handshake. Either party can split ties at any time that they deem necessary, but it's a free program, and it's designed to help the recruiters on the front end bring our young men and women into service, but then also help them transition into the civilian world once they leave. And I will tell you this, I wish this was around. I mean, this job that I'm doing now kind of fell on my lap because of a network, that I've been a part of for a while. And it is being able to retire from the Army and talk Army and still help soldiers and help the community understand about the Army.
Excellent.
But I tell you what, it was really tough for me last year when I retired, albeit during COVID and stuff. But, if I would have had those 5 job interviews, I would have landed one for sure, a lot sooner than I got this one. So, but I believe in the program. I believe in our young men and women that serve our country. And I certainly believe in the county of El Paso. My wife and I love that area, and it was part of our deciding, of where we're going to retire here in San Antonio. We love Texas. So I'm going to try to get out to El Paso here soon and try to do another meeting and drum up some other business out there as well. But I'm here for you guys, whatever you guys need. And I'm so happy and proud that you guys have me here today.
Yeah, and we welcome you, and we could, each one of the commissioners has extremely good ties with the community, and so anything that we could do to help out. Michelle, how does this program, is there a similarity with the bridge program? Because I think we're part of is that correct?
Are you referring to the Hiring Our Heroes program,
Pardon?
Judge? Are you referring to the Hiring Our Heroes program that we've participated in the past?
Yeah.
It's separate and apart from, Judge. This will help in the recruitment efforts to maintain our veteran population. Currently, we pride ourselves on the fact that 11% of our workforce is veteran status. And so this will help get the veteran applicants, as Mr. Meade said, to the forefront of it, which we do for other applicants as well. If applicants call in asking how they can improve their application or how they did on their interview, we do provide those services as well. This is separate from the Hiring Our Heroes program, Judge. That's a separate program in which the individuals who are transitioning out of the service, the last 6 months of their service, they're still in. They do the internships with the different organizations. So we still have that separate from this program.
Oh, excellent. Any comments, anything at this point? Obviously, we're pretty excited, anything veteran, Jim, so whatever we need to do, we need to take some type of action.
We're just asking for direction today. It doesn't have to be a formal action, but we're basically asking, will you support us bringing forward the MOU?
Okay. I think we're all in agreement,
Yes.
Jim?
Great.
Our best to Judge Wolf, if you get to see him up there in San Antonio. He's a good partner of ours. We share a lot of information, and whatever we could do to help each other with this program, I would love to use that partnership.
Certainly, I will do what I need to do on this end and prepare that information and MOU today. And there's no real action needed right now. Once it's created, it'll be sent down to the points of contact, and then I'll run it through the process of getting it signed and vetted. And then after that, we get access to the system, get you some training, and then put this thing in action. And then we work on getting a signing ceremony where we can have you sign a ceremonial MOA, hopefully with the commanding general of Fort Bliss.
Oh, yeah. We have great relationships with Fort Bliss, so that would be a really exciting ceremony there. So thank you, Jim, and I guess we're all in agreement, and so ready to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Michelle.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Jim. You have a wonderful day.
Thanks. You all do the same, and happy Thanksgiving.
Likewise. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Item number 8, receive a presentation and approve the eligibility criteria for the El Paso County's Fund for Excellence Scholarship Program.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Sam Trujillo, I'm the interim Chief Human Resources Officer for the County of El Paso. Today, we'd like to update the court on the county's Fund for Excellence Scholarship Program and seek your approval on the eligibility criteria that was developed after we received direction from the Commissioners Court back in September of 2020. Next slide, please.
You're able to advance them right there, Sam? The clicker? The clicker's
There's
right
a
there?
clicker there,
Oh.
Sam?
Do it myself now? Okay, as part of the longstanding agreement that we have between the County of El Paso and with UTEP, there are 10 renewable academic scholarships that were created with the ability of each commissioner to award 2 scholarships per precinct and for the county judge to award 2 additional scholarships countywide. At the time of the agreement, the county selected the UTEP's Presidential Excellence Scholarship Guidelines and to determine the eligibility for those particular scholarships. In September of 2020, the Human Resources Department presented the Commissioners Court with an overview of this scholarship program, and we sought guidance on updating the eligibility requirements as authorized within the agreement. The court discussed several preferences for county. One included the county employees as being a preference and their families, adding volunteerism to the eligibility, and allowing some flexibility for B or C grade students that were very active within the community. Based on this direction, HR met with UTEP representatives, and together we developed an updated eligibility guidelines based on that Presidential Excellence Scholarship Guidelines, and to include the direction that we had already received from the court. So today, what we'd like to do is put those 2 things together and show you what the eligibility would be moving forward. If you approve, then that will be the guidelines that we will use to develop the scholarships from this point forward. So Judge, Commissioners, to present this criteria today, I would like to introduce Luz Rojas, who is one of our HR employees that works extremely hard behind the scenes and who this year established a personal goal which she will achieve today by presenting this item directly to the Commissioners Court. Okay, with that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Luz Rojas from the Human Resource Department. Move to the next slide. As Sam mentioned, the original agreement includes the ability for the county to propose additional criteria within the constraints of the university's standard eligibility requirements. Based on the court's direction and through meeting with UTEP, the eligibility guidelines shown on this slide were developed. Be currently enrolled and pursuing a degree at UTEP. Be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident residing in El Paso County, Texas. Have a past academic performance that reflects a 2.0 GPA or higher, which is one of the 3 guidelines recommended by the court. Provide 2 letters of recommendations from instructors, and provide an essay addressing the items listed on the slide, including volunteer activities, which is the 2nd item recommended by the court. The final recommendation by the court was a preference for students who are employees of the county or related to an employee of the county, and this item is now included in the eligibility. These scholarships are renewable provided that the students continue to meet the scholarship criteria. Does the court have any questions?
Commissioner Leon?
Thank you, Luz. I'm very interested in the county employees' preference. Is there a number of points that are assigned to that employee or that student as they compete?
Yes, sir. We do have, the scoring will be 100 points, but we are going to be adding additional points for those that are either county employees or relatives of the county employee.
And how many points are added?
That, I believe it's 10 points above. We are adding a little bit extra more points as far as the employees.
Okay, I'm very glad to hear that. Betsy, in the past years, I know it's been kind of hit and miss insofar as, giving those scholarships to students that really need them. And that agreement goes way back when we gave the Sun Bowl to UTEP. So
Yes, sir.
I hope there's a yearly thing that's like a tickler for us that we need to get on it and make some recommendations.
Yes, sir. UTEP actually reviews the applications. Correct me if I'm wrong, Luz, but they will now consider this criteria. We will be able to promote it. It does not necessarily mean that new scholarships become available annually. As Luz mentioned, it's renewable. So if you get the scholarship as a freshman and you continue to meet the criteria, it will help you all the way through your 4-year education, for example. So that's one of the 10 that would be locked up for 4 years. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that
But
was going
it's-
to be my next question, that even though one is in the mill, becoming a sophomore, junior, then we give it to another person, but that's not the case.
No, sir. They get the contract, the scholarship renewed, which is one of the things the court discussed previously and why I think you changed the criteria as well. There are some people who really need this scholarship, and before they had to have, one of the issues was the higher grades, and the court discussed that there's people who are involved in the community that don't have the higher grades. Let's consider them as well, and then also a preference for employees or their dependents.
Maybe if the court may agree with me that we look at other funding possibilities that we can partially fund other scholarship for our county employees, because some of these employees, I see them work so hard on a full-time basis, then still have carry a 12-hour, 16-hour load at school.
Commissioner Leon, I can't tell you enough how important those programs are. We do have a program. You all, before I came to the county, I worked for a city that if they had not provided the tuition assistance, I would have never made it through college. I was a single mom, and the city I worked for provided tuition assistance, and that 100% put me through college. So we do have a plan right now. We do provide tuition assistance, but and we did loosen up that plan to make it more inclusive this year and to add more benefits to employees to partake in it. We will continue to monitor it. Right now you have it budgeted, I believe, at $60,000 a year or $50,000. I think we increased it to 60, and we have not utilized all of it yet. We started off with it at 30,000. It's up to $60,000 you budget for it now, but we can continue to monitor, keep you all abreast of how much it's being used. And if we find that we're getting close to the full amount being used, it's definitely something we'll bring back to you to recommend a budget increase.
And Betsy, maybe we can remind our department heads and elected officials who know they have students working for them that they encourage them, and as we move towards the limit at 60,000, that you might see, we've got a few other students here that are going to miss out, that maybe we can find some funding for them.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. And Sam, maybe it would be possible there might be some employees who are in the program who have seen the benefits of it, who might be able to come and speak publicly. We could maybe do a presentation at a special meeting to the court and speak publicly about how it's helped them, because that's sometimes the best way to market and make others aware of how valuable a program is.
I think that's excellent, but we feel comfortable that employees know about the program. We're doing a good promotion, making sure that
I always think we can do more, right? I do think HR does a great job, but we are so overwhelmed with information. What you and Commissioner Leon are saying is so important. We can always do more, because people are being overwhelmed with their daily work. So much information comes across that we can do more.
And I like this idea, because it used to be if you were in a valedictorian, you didn't have a chance at, and the studies show that there's more relevance to success based on their volunteerism, working and having to work and go to school. And so we're very glad that you're balancing that with not having to have an A student, because sometimes they're challenged of having to work more so than the ones that have the A's. So I'm glad you added that criteria.
Judge, we'd like for a motion to approve the criteria.
Can I ask a question about the relatives of county employees? Do we have that defined, what that relationship is, or is it purposely, did we leave it very broad?
Yes, ma'am. As we created the application, we modified it to fit our county's criteria. We did include it for them to list if they are either a county employee or if they have a relative that works for the county.
But what definition of relative, Liz?
that's
Is it our own definition of immediate family member?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Our
And so
definition.
that's
Okay.
son, daughter,
It's
parent.
actually pretty exhaustive, our immediate family member.
Yes.
Let me pull it, just one second. Spouse, registered domestic partners, children, parents, grandparents, grandchildren, siblings. Is that the same? We're using our definition?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, siblings, guardianship relationship, in-laws, and step/half relationships within the same degree.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
So we need
Judge,
go ahead, Commissioner Robinson.
we, the students who are in high school, are not, one of the requirements for them to graduate is community service. How do we spell out, and do we have a minimum requirement for community service?
We don't. That's going to be part of the scoring system as far as how many hours or community or volunteer hours that they have. That's how it's going to, how we're going to grade into the selection.
Okay, so,
The scorecard.
so how would I know that I need to have community service? Is it spelled out, said that in order to be a recipient, you must do community service, and there's a minimum that I must attain?
I don't believe we have it, but we can include it as far as letting them know what's the minimum and what's the max. I
Well,
don't
the
think
reason I
there's a
said-
max, but
So if you're going to have part of your scoring, but I don't know it's part of the scoring, then it puts me at a disadvantage.
I think that, and we should be encouraging volunteerism and community activities because, we've talked about how our biggest category of volunteers were between the ages of 60 and above, which have now become a little concerned about volunteerism because of COVID. And so I think we should be a community, our county should be really pushing for volunteerism. And I think Commissioner Robinson is right, that if you say 50 minimum, well, then that gets them to figure out. I know my son has I think 75-hour that he has to do as part of a program in high school, and man, he works at it. I mean, he looks for opportunities, and so maybe this would be the way our county encourages volunteerism and community participation.
okay.
Judge, Betsy, it just triggered something in my thinking that we've been talking about a volunteer group here at the county that maybe we can incorporate some high school students to participate in get them some of that, those hours that you all are talking about.
That's a good point, Commissioner. I'll be sure to share that with the team working on it.
We started with Visa, had given us actually an individual that was going to work in my office and work on developing volunteers and, finding initiatives for them. And unfortunately, and I don't know if we could get back to that, Betsy. I mean, they're very interested in having someone actually, help HR, because HR does a lot of that, but this one was they had sort of a system and a process of, it was a Vista volunteer or something like that.
Through United Way?
Yeah, with United Way, and so that would be excellent to, thanks for that, because I'd forgotten that some things sort of fell on the site when the pandemic came, and that was one that I thought was very important. Like I said, we create a culture of volunteerism. I can tell you that if you look at the best place to work, one of the things they emphasize that employees who volunteer are extremely good employees at work.
And I believe the reason why there's not a specific volunteer requirement, you can have somebody who's volunteering very few hours with a lot of different organizations, or somebody who volunteers a lot of hours with one organization. I think all of those things are factors that are evaluated. I know I've been on a couple of the like scholarship review committees, application review committees, and there's different ways of points matrices can be built for evaluating that, and it's only a portion of the total points available. So, and when you actually, to access the application, I can't pull it up because you have to be registered with UTEP to pull up the application to see what it tells you as far as, it does ask you for your volunteer experience, but to tell you like how it's considered or how many points it would provide, I don't have access to that. So we would have to talk to UTEP about if we want to change that scoring of that part of the matrix and make it very specific. We would need to develop some pretty specific criteria to give them, if the court would like.
Sam?
Judge, on number 5, the volunteerism is listed in there, but it's one of several items that are in there. So the committee that reviews this can take that all into account on each one of those items. So like some of the examples we mentioned, that somebody may be doing only a few hours at one particular location, but they have multiple locations that they're doing it. All that can be considered within number 5 that's shown on your screen. In addition to that, there's letters of recommendations that also would be able to point that out when they submit that to the committee to review. So it was something that wasn't included in the past, of volunteerism. So even if they did volunteer in the community and they're active, it wasn't included in the past. And also the grades, if they weren't at the A level before, that wouldn't be considered. Now this opens the door for those other students and those that are stepping forward to doing those extra curricular activities and programs throughout the community. Now those things can be considered. So right now there's not a set, like so many hours per week that's in the criteria, but it could be used as by the committee to evaluate one over the other.
And you vet your pool one against each other. I mean, like, this one has this type of volunteer and this one has this, but you're vetting them at that moment between
Correct.
each other, between the pool that you're looking at. So.
Correct.
But one thing I would reiterate to drive my point home is that you include it in your scoring. But if I don't know that it's going to be included in the scoring until I submit an application, you put me at a disadvantage. So I think my point is that we should encourage people to volunteer, and I should know that in order for me to get in this program or be a recipient of this program, I must have some volunteerism. So I'm not saying that you have it all in one place. As Betsy indicated, you could have multiple locations that you have volunteer, but you can add them all up and say, okay, well, I've got, or he or she has X number of hours of volunteerism. Doesn't necessarily say it had to be all at one location. But I don't want to place the employee or the individual at a disadvantage by not knowing that volunteerism will be used in the scoring, because one person may have 100 hours of volunteerism. I have none. So who's going to score higher?
And Commissioner, I'm sorry, on the website for UTEP, it does say that the essay, which is as described here, that addresses all the following information, it does tell applicants that the essay overall is part of what they'll be evaluated on.
And they include volunteerism?
It just says that the essay must be submitted. I'm continuing to look, but it says an essay. It doesn't say specifically where I'm at. It doesn't say specifically what all they can include in the essay, but it says they will be graded on their essay and its contents.
But this criteria with the volunteerism hasn't been approved yet. So if it's approved by the Commissioners Court, then we will be pushing that into the criteria, and then that can be part of the marketing. But Commissioner Robertson, that's a great point that you're making there, and I think we can take care of most of that through our marketing to show what has been successful in the past, so that somebody's not eliminated because they don't have so many hours, but it is going to be included as a criteria, and this is what's been awarded in the past, something like that.
Good. Speaking of volunteerism, any county employee that wants to volunteer this Saturday from 10 to 12 in Benton at the substation, the annex, we're going to be servicing 400 or more citizens in our community by providing them a Thanksgiving meal.
If you want to boost your potential for the scholarship, here's an opportunity to.
Yeah. We'll be giving out turkeys in Benton in conjunction with the Sheriff's Department. They're partnering with me or whatever. We're going to provide not just Saturday is from 10 to 12 at the substation of annex in Benton, but we're also covering the Sheriff's Department for the rest of the county as well this Saturday with turkeys and hams. So come out and volunteer.
I'm trying not to make eye contact with you. But I'll make a motion to approve the eligibility criteria for the El Paso County's Fund for Excellence Scholarship Program.
Second.
Which includes volunteerism. Second.
Commissioner Holguin,
Aye.
Commissioner Leon,
Aye.
Commissioner Stout,
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson,
Aye.
Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Judge. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luz.
Item number 9, receive a presentation on the County of El Paso's facilities that have been fully and/or partially updated in 2020-2021 to meet the Texas Accessibility Standards and the Americans with Disabilities Act.
And good morning, Judge, Commissioners. For the record, Sam Trujillo with the Human Resources Department. So the County of El Paso currently operates under a 212-page American with Disabilities Act transition plan. And that our staff, this plan was developed by our internal staff and reviewed by the County Attorney's Office. This plan is updated by staff every 2 years, and we present that to the Commissioners Court. So this particular transition plan, it serves as a guide for the removal of physical barriers and program barriers that the county has or uses so that we can ensure that there's equal participation from everyone or for everyone. The county has taken a very proactive approach in addressing ADA issues for 64 of our county facilities, for 14 parks, and for countless programs which are in operation or added each year. Today, we'd like to provide the court with just a snapshot of the services and outcomes provided through the county's ADA coordinator, Amanda Manning. Amanda has been with the county since 2011 and previously served as a building official for the state of Kansas. Amanda is, or actually in the state of Kansas. Amanda is one of those employees who also works behind the scenes, but she does have a huge impact on the operations of the county for the services that we provide to the community every day. And we'd like to just take a moment and show you some of the things that have been happening. We don't need any action on this item, but we would like to inform the court of these projects and the budget amounts that we request every year during the budget sessions. Amanda?
Good morning, Commissioners, Judge.
Morning.
Amanda Manning, ADA Coordinator, Human Resources Department. Part of the responsibility as the ADA Coordinator, I'm required to inspect county facilities and programs for compliance with two laws: the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act law and the state law, which is the Texas Accessibility Standards. These two laws outline building regulations and guidelines which govern ADA accessibility for the county. As part of our annual goals, specific county buildings, parks, and programs are inspected or reviewed based on the priority levels developed through meetings with the public and approved by Commissioners Court. Grievances or new construction may also impact priority inspections in any given year. After each inspection, we generate a report for each facility or program, which includes the corrective course of action for public works, facilities, and/or the department to bring each item or area into compliance with the ADA or the TAS. These inspections are not random, but are part of the transition plan developed by staff and first implemented in 2012. The transition plan serves as an internal guide for ADA compliance within the county. The transition plan is updated every 2 years and approved by the Commissioners Court. As Sam mentioned, today we would like to provide the court with information and results of inspections that have occurred over the last year and projects which are forthcoming. The inspection reports we generate provide the department with detailed descriptions and pictures of deficiencies found in each facility. As you can see, there are 4 columns on the report with the headings of survey questions, TAS reference, picture, and violation comments. The survey question asks if an item is compliant. The TAS reference, the picture and violation comments. The survey questions asks if an item is compliant. The TAS reference section states the requirements for the item. The picture column shows the noncompliance issue, and the violation comments explain why the item is in violation. This slide depicts an example of a report Public Works, facilities, and each department receives. The following slides highlight the ADA improvements that have been completed over this past year based on previous inspections. The first is the Escurity Park swimming pool and building and the golf course clubhouse. The swimming pool and building needed ADA improvements to the parking lot, locker rooms, and entrances into the small swimming pool. The side ramp at the clubhouse needed improvements to make it more accessible. The inspection of the parking area at the pool revealed it did not meet ADA and TAS standards because there were not enough access aisles from the parking spaces. There were no accessible parking signs. The slope of the accessible parking spaces was greater than 2%. The accessible ramps protruded into the parking area. Working with facilities department, they were able to bring the parking area into substantial compliance with the TAS and the ADA. The inspection of the small pool entrance was also brought into substantial compliance after we found the ramp handrails were spaced too far apart, were not at the correct height, and did not extend far enough at the top and the bottom of the ramp. The handrails for the stairs were also spaced too far apart and not at the correct height. The facilities department was able to bring the small pool entrance into substantial compliance with the TAS and the ADA. The men's and women's restrooms showers were not within the required standards. The benches in each restroom did not allow for a wheelchair transfer. The restroom stalls were not large enough. The toilet and grab bars were not at the correct height. These items have been brought into substantial compliance with ADA and TAS. The golf course clubhouse, the ramp at the side of the building that leads to the golf course and to the golf carts was not in compliance. It was too steep. The rise of the ramp was more than 30 inches. There was not a top or bottom landing. Handrails were not provided on both sides of the ramp. The handrails did not extend beyond the bottom of the ramp, and there was not an edge protection on the ramp. These items have been brought into substantial compliance with ADA and TAS. The next slide shows the Canutillo swimming pool, which reveal ADA issues with parking, facility entrance, and restrooms. The parking lot did not have the correct number and type of parking spaces. 2 accessible parking spaces were added to the parking area. The ramp leading to the facility did not have the proper slope, landing size, and handrails, but all these items were brought into substantial compliance with ADA and TAS. The restrooms, men's and women's, showers were not within the required standards. The benches in each restroom did not allow for a wheelchair transfer. The restroom stalls were not large enough. The toilets and grab bars were not at the correct height. And these items have also been brought into substantial compliance with ADA and TAS standards. The next is the Fabian swimming pool, which revealed ADA issues with parking and restrooms. The parking lot did not have the correct number and type of parking spaces. 2 accessible parking spaces were added to the parking area. The men's and women's restrooms, showers were not within required standards. The benches in each restroom did not allow for a wheelchair transfer. The restroom stalls were not large enough. The toilets and grab bars were not at the correct height. These items have all been brought into substantial compliance with ADA and TAS. The next slide is the medical examiner's office, which revealed ADA issues with the ramp entrance and restrooms. Two ramps were located on the accessible route from the parking lot to the entrance. The ramps were not in compliance with ADA and TAS due to the slope of the ramps being too steep. As you can see, 1 ramp was removed to allow room to bring the remaining ramp into compliance. The restrooms were not in compliance due to the size of the accessible stall and the height of the lavatories. This was brought into substantial compliance with ADA and TAS. Here's the cost breakdown for the individual items we have covered. The projects that I highlighted could not have been accomplished without the budget approved by Commissioners Court or without the assistance of our Facilities Department. We have asked Facilities Maintenance Director Robin Soley to join us today to help answer any questions you may have at the end of this presentation. He's online for the meeting. 22 buildings have been inspected for compliance, including the courthouse. 9 buildings have been corrected, partially corrected, or are in the process of being corrected. 14 parks have been inspected for compliance. 7 of the parks have been corrected, partially corrected, or are in the process of being corrected. Each year, the staff sets goals for working towards ADA compliance countywide. The goals we have set for this fiscal year of 2022 are as follows. This fiscal year, we plan on inspecting 5 buildings, along with the inspections on all new construction, remodels, and renovations to county facilities. ADA will also timely address all grievances that are received from the public. Again, we'd like to thank Commissioners Court, and the county administration for their support. This concludes the presentation. Does the court have any questions?
Well, no, this is great progress. I mean, that was quite a lot of things that needed. Can you make reference to maybe what's pending, or what are some of the things that are more immediate that need to happen? And or I don't know, maybe Mr. Sully, maybe you could talk a little bit about what do we have left to do that requires our attention.
Good morning, Judge and County Commissioners. Robin Sully, Facility Maintenance Director. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Judge?
Yes, we can, sir.
One of the projects that we are going back to revisit is in the county courthouse on several restrooms in the county courthouse. The sinks in the county courthouse restrooms need to be lowered and match ADA standards. That is one of the major projects that we are currently getting ready to revisit, if that answered your question.
Yeah, just to give sort of the public, where we headed from here. We've had great progress, but what are some of the things that, and also I'd like to address some of the other less visible. For example, I know I get calls from a great gentleman and has become a friend, Mr. Zavala, and he talks about some of the things that, he's blind and he struggles a lot on our website, haven't been able to get the right information. What else are we doing? And maybe that wouldn't be so much a question to you, but maybe Betsy, some of the other areas that are not as physical, but maybe interactive?
That's a great question, Judge. That's part of what I believe one of the slides Amanda had in her presentation. So that's one of the great parts about the plan. The plan identifies high priority areas. It's also, Amanda went and does community input meetings as well to say what's the next priorities, what areas need to be addressed, what are the biggest issues in those areas. And it's not just facilities, it's also accessibility to programs. For example, attending your meeting, you added the sign language interpreters. That's an example of something under a transition plan that you've added that impacts a program versus a facility. Amanda, do you want to reference some of the higher priority items that you all have identified?
One of the biggest, when I first started, one of the biggest priority issues was the county courthouse itself. And that's something that we have updated several items. We continue updating. It is a large building. So many of our restrooms have become more accessible. And if you just, as an example, look at this, the courtroom, we've added the ramp. If you notice, there are some spots where there's missing chairs. If you wonder why that is, there's a couple of spots in the back, right here. Those are wheelchair accessible spots. For anyone who uses a wheelchair, they've got a spot. They're dispersed throughout the courtroom. So if they want to sit in the front, they can. If they want to sit in the back, they can. Instead of sitting off to the side, or, they're integrated within the rest of the public. One other thing, we're currently still working on the swimming pools. One thing with those, that's something that's not thought about, is actual access into the swimming pool. As you saw, for the little swimming pool at Escarity Park, there's a ramp, there's steps, but at the other swimming pools, there's not. We're currently working on getting chair lifts, or their lifts, to lift somebody up and into the pool. So that's something you'll see next year on the presentation. Restrooms have always been a big issue for the county. That's something at meetings that have always come up. The past year, we updated the restrooms at Liberty Hall, so they are fully accessible now, things like that. As you mentioned, Judge, with Mr. Zavala, we have issues with the capture phrase for our record search. And I don't know if you're familiar with the CAPTCHA phrases, but it's where you have to enter the numbers and letters and stuff. Ours did not have an audio version. I'm working with IT, and towards the beginning of this next year, they're going to be updating the website and stuff with Tyler. We have come to we are helping the gentleman with the search and stuff. We've come up with something to help until we get to that point.
Excellent.
And we also are doing a pretty extensive bus shelters to make our bus routes ADA accessible. You all just recently approved an item on that, and the major cost of that is those ramps up to those areas for ADA accessibility. In addition to those specialized funded projects, in addition to that, the court has set aside, as part of our ongoing CIP cost, $250,000 a year. It's one of our ongoing annual CIP allocations for various ADA improvement projects, whether it's online, program accessibility, or physical structure improvements.
I think, Mr. Sully, you're on mute.
Yes, Judge, can you hear me again?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I just want to say that first and foremost, I want to thank Judge, you and the county commissioners and Betsy for putting those funds in the account each year to allow us to work on the ADA accessibility of all the county facilities. As you can see, there was a lot of work that's been done over the past two or 3 years. I know you asked about some upcoming projects, but I just wanted to let you know, Judge, that first and foremost, all of our managers are highly trained on ADA accessibilities, and every project that we look at, that's one of the first things we consider. We look at, if we got to do a space allocation or put in a wall, we look at, we consider ADA first. That's the most primary target that we look at. So I just wanted to know, also our staff, when they go and do a project, they look at the ADA. That's one of the major primary concerns that we consider when we go work on these projects. So I just wanted to put that out. But I also want to close by saying thank you and the county commissioners and Betsy and all for giving us funding to allow us to pursue these projects.
And thank you for this focus and dedication. You know, we want to lead in everything we do in the county, because what we do becomes a role model as to what other organizations should be doing. And I've always said it's hard to ask the community to engage on things that we're not doing ourselves. So I think this was great progress that you showed today.
Thank you.
Okay, Judge, Commissioners, this is just one small part of the entire operation, but we wanted to give the court, a snapshot of what was actually occurring and how the process works.
Excellent.
So the inspections actually happen first, and then we provide that over to facilities, and then they work. So we're always a little bit ahead on our inspections, and we're capable, because of that transition plan, of changing direction quickly, depending on issues that come up, emergency situations, or something that breaks like a ramp or something like that. Then we can change direction and go and add that as to our priority goals.
And I like what Mr. Saul, you're incorporating it. We don't have to go back as you're doing things moving forward that we, you know, take care of. The Healing Garden was an example of that. We're very, very conscientious of distance from the parking lot, you know, access to the Healing Garden. And that makes things a lot easier than trying to come back and then try to fix a problem. So we thank you for that, you know, forward-looking with ADA. Very important.
Thank you. Judge, we don't have any action on this item. We just wanted to present this to you.
Okay, well, thank you.
Item number 6, receive a presentation and updates on the county's 2020 to 2024 strategic plan.
Betsy, do we have some individuals here that?
There for another item from
Oh.
one of our departments. So we're going to do strategic plan and then
Okay.
go to that department's update.
Perfect, okay.
Just 1 second, they're pulling up the presentation.
Yes, now it is.
Dr. Madrigal, before we start, I want to apologize. We've been pushing this off, and I hope you never think that it's such an important part of our, you know, of our success and keeping up with what we said we were going to do. So this is what we're going to do. Now we're going to look at, are we doing this? And so, but really, I apologize that we sort of pushed it off a little bit, but we're very, very excited and that we're able to hear this, and we want to support it as much as we can. So
Thank you, Judge.
thank you.
And Judge, before Dr. Madrigal starts, I want to tell you all, even though there's times where the court, we've had to delay it, behind the scenes, Dr.
Absolutely.
Madrigal is working with departments very closely, supporting them, assisting them, getting the updates. She's been on the county team a little over
2 years, November
2 years, and she's finally been able to see like a full cycle, and we're really looking forward to the coming year. But behind the scenes, she's pushing us. She's meeting with departments to do their updates, and we have quarterly meetings where we're going over the progress on the plan, and you're seeing so much more engagement by departments on the reporting. It's become our normal now. And that's what we wanted to get to.
And I like and encourage, because a couple of times, Dr. Madrigal, you said this represents, you know, this item on the strategic planning. And I think that helps a lot when you bring that up, and you do that very well, but I encourage that when we're working on something, that you tell us, this is addressing this strategic item, and so I think that's very helpful for us.
And we are asking the departments to be more cognizant and note that on our agenda items as well. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Machado.
Thank you. Let me just address quickly what you mentioned, Judge. It's a systems approach, so every Friday we made it a routine to go in and add items that relate directly to the strategic plan, again, to bring awareness of the plan and what activities being done under the plan.
Thank you.
Okay. The court's vision and mission is move forward by a comprehensive and overarching strategy to deliver sound and exceptional service and adhere to the core values of excellence, professionalism, integrity, and creativity. Next slide, please. The court's strategy is executed by focusing on 9 outcome areas or strategic goals, which include leading justice reform, transforming economic development, increasing tourism, upgrading infrastructure, promoting collaboration and engagement, advancing community support, valuing El Paso County family, strengthening financial health, and optimizing internal processes. Next slide, please. To support the 9 strategic goals, or what I often refer to as the 9 outcome areas, 73 objectives were identified by the court. And to carry forth these objectives, 187 milestone activities, or the work that happens under each of these objectives, were identified and implemented by county leadership. So where are we in terms of the strategic plan overall? As of the fourth quarter of the fiscal year 2021, the progress of the plan was 77% complete. It should be noted that the initial plan was implemented in fiscal year 2022 with a 5-year outlook. So in essence, about 3/4 of the plan has been completed in less than 2 years.
And that was actually, you said 2022, but I think you meant 2020.
2020, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the next plan.
We're really
We're
fast.
way ahead. I was going, wow, we're ahead of 2022, my goodness.
I think fast. So the status of the plan, in terms of status, 90% of the plan has been completed or is on track. About 3% of the plans experienced some disruption, and to give you an example of the disruption, for example, ITD had the work in place to start implementing an IoT platform. However, with the pandemic, they quickly had to shift gears and implement Microsoft 365 so that all county employees could be ready to work from home. About 7% of the plan experienced were discontinued. And the majority of the time, these work was discontinued because the work was duplicate of other activities that were going on. So instead of having a lot of duplication of work, we consolidated that under other objectives.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised the disruption is so low, given the COVID. That says a lot about the organization, not having that big of a disruption. That's pretty impressive.
And one of the examples I was looking at of like a disruption was the court sometimes also decided to change course. So, or we hit a roadblock. One example might be the downtown historic district. We were heading towards a goal. We were stopped. And so that could be an example of a disruption where it wasn't a consolidation. Or another disruption would be where we went out to do a study with the intent of like going to the next phase. And after the court got the study, it said, we don't want to go to the next phase. And so those are examples of other types of disruptions besides consolidation.
We're ready for the next slide. I tried to be a little innovative and change the presentation. So you'll see some color coding. Items in blue are items that have been completed, and I've discussed them previously in previous presentations. But if you have any questions regarding these goals and objectives and work that was completed, I'll be happy to address them. Today, I'm mainly going to focus on items that are in green, that mean that they're ongoing. And I'm going to call your attention to the fast forward symbol. This indicates that this objective and work under this objective was what I say reset and refreshed and part of the strategic plan that started October 1st. And that strategic plan's life is from 2022 now I have the correct year, through 2026. And so as you can see in this first slide, I'm showcasing leading justice reform. And leading justice reform, the progress is at 97% complete. There are 6 objectives and 26 milestone activities, or the real work that happens under the objectives to move it forward under leading justice reform. Objective 1.1 was complete, and objective 1.3 was also complete. There is still work under objective 1.2, and that is at 94% complete. The work related to this objective deals with the analysis of JP courts that is now underway with the 2020 census. Next slide, please. Objective 1.5 and 1.6 have been completed, and there is work related to objective 1.4, which is at 94%. The work that's still pending under this objective is related to the new director that happens to be here with us today. Welcome, Catherine Jones, and she is implementing new strategies to move forward long-term professional development in her department. Next slide, please. Another aspect that I incorporated in this presentation was giving you artifacts in forms of pictures or videos or flyers to really bring the story behind the numbers forward and give you a picture of what each department has been doing to move forward the goals or the strategic goals. Today, for leading justice reform, I'm highlighting the pretrial office and fingerprint live scan integration. Next slide, please. We move forward to goal 2.
Can I just go back?
Absolutely.
The changes with the DIMS program, and very much supported by Commissioner Leon, are there anything that you could talk about as far as some of the impact or maybe not have impact, or did that change, the changes that we wanted, how were they incorporated into the strategic plan? Did they support it, or were they additional things?
I don't think we're currently tracking it. We could look at some metrics that we could really capture how that system has helped move forward. I'm going to defer to the expert, Catherine Jones, to see if she has any additional comment in terms of the DIMS process and what actual metrics we could capture to tell a better story.
We addressed several things.
Or Joel's
Catherine,
online. Thank you, Joel.
Yeah, Joel
good.
is working on this too, Judge, and he's online. He's actually been negotiating that
Hi,
contract, but
Joel.
he can
I'm
talk
sorry.
about.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? There was some great progress, changes made, and then, how do we incorporate that into the strategic plan so that Dr. Madrigal can continue to monitor those changes? So, Joel, go ahead.
Yeah, Judge, thank you, Joel Bishop with County Administration. Regarding the DIMS, so much of it is new within the last 6 months, and even in the last few months that it was kind of post what the strategic plan covered. But it definitely affects, it has an impact on the numbers. Mm-hmm. And we're still analyzing that. How much is the impact? What can we do to enhance those processes under the new agreement, which is still pending between the district attorney's office and the city's police department? But the collaboration is happening. Our analysis is ongoing with that program, and it definitely does impact this. It just wasn't built into the plan as you see it because it's so new. Mm-hmm. But as we move forward, we will continue to keep the court updated in how this impacts cases. Even the jail population, especially as SB 6 rolls out and the DIMS and how all of that ties together is going to require close analysis. But we don't have numbers yet to present to the court on the specific impacts.
Okay. Yeah. My point is just I think we did some great progress there, and how do we capture that as we move forward? Catherine, any other comments or anything that you might want? Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Dr. Madrigal.
Thank you. Goal 2 of the strategic plan is transform economic development. The progress of this goal is at 59%. There are 6 objectives and 26 milestone activities. As you can see, there's still quite some work pending under this objective, this strategic goal. Objective 2.2 is complete. Objective 2.1 is ongoing. And this work relates to obtaining commercial tax-based records to inform pandemic recovery efforts and growth from commercial property supported by county incentives. Objective 2.3 is at 45%, and there's 2 milestone activities pending under this objective. And this work relates to developing an MOU with Canutillo Independent School District, and this is to roll out internships for high school students. The other work under this objective includes collaborating with stakeholders on regional workforce. I understand that the Department of Economic Development is working with Workforce Solutions to roll out some programs related to this. Objective 2.4 is at 55%, and the work pending on this relates to an economic development strategic master plan for the department and how they're going to tackle economic development, and this is going to be ready January 2022. Other work associated with this objective deals with staff working to identify positive economic development related to incentives for commercial development and business growth. And the department is pending a white paper from the Greater Chamber of Commerce that's related to business retention and expansion. Next slide, please.
Dr. Madrigal, before
Yes,
you
sir.
get off this one, Judge, if I may.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know if it's in here, but insofar as what we do for housing, it brought up a lot of questions in my mind, thanks to the court. And Ralph mentioned, one of the speakers mentioned, ultimate home ownership. And really, the court has been very hands-off our housing area, and I think we should be more involved and maybe develop a plan that we'd like to see them follow, especially the ultimate home ownership, what percentage of their attention goes to that, and vouchers and whatever. But I think as we move forward that they have some sort of, the board has some sort of idea of what the court might want in the future. Yeah.
Housing Authority. I think that's something we can definitely work with you all to develop some goals for the Housing Authority Board.
We did have some reference to housing, but it was in terms of homeless population, and it was under Goal 6.
Goal 6, okay, thank you.
Well, speaking of that, though, that ties into home ownership, ties into economic development.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Because the thing is, you're not going to be able to attain a loan to purchase a home if you don't have a job that has income that supports it.
Correct.
And normally, what I've seen in housing authorities is there's normally programs for family self-sufficiency, like what you're talking about, Commissioner Robinson. So as a resident of housing, there should be generally a program that helps individuals become self-sufficient. And then the programs I've seen are similar to where we have some here, but where there's low, basically affordable homes that are built, and a program where the individuals are able to get into that home, and then if they meet requirements after a short period of time, normally home ownership, is a 30-year debt, generally, normally. But I've seen the programs where if you get in there and you're meeting the program requirements, you're getting subsidized for that home ownership, and you can own a home within 10 years. And those are the types of Section 8 housing programs that most housing authorities, I believe, have the programs to help build the family up and support them to get jobs and steady income, and then they turn them over to these kinds of home ownership programs, Section 8 home ownership programs. So we can
And I
definitely.
think Commissioner Leon is right, because I think, one of our lanes that we keep talking about is accessibility. But we need to monitor, how much are we doing? If we know that housing is important, or to be an owner, we need to monitor that, and then how are we supporting that as we move forward? And I'll talk a little bit also about some of the clusters that Workforce Solutions has come up with, and then also the same thing, how are we supporting these clusters like healthcare? There's a tremendous need that we feel that healthcare is going to be a real important industry in our community. Well, what are we doing to support that particular industry? So But you might be coming up with on that topic.
Also, want to remind you, Judge, and Commissioners, we're working to find a date in January or February to work with you all on an overall economic development policy. And that doesn't have to be narrowed in just on incentives. It can be narrowed in on some of these other programs and goals you all would like to see, because what you're saying is the holistic picture to help our community.
Yeah, I think we're getting better as a community, where people used to take off sort of individually, and, city was trying to do something and workforce was trying to do something else. And I think we're coming together to identify these clusters that are important to us, like aerospace. Obviously, we're excited about that, but what are we doing other than sort of waiting for the partnerships? But what are we doing to support that aerospace program, or what are we doing to that healthcare? The number of people that come through here to go to Houston, Phoenix, and all these areas for medical treatments, it's very inconvenient to do that. So, what are we doing to make sure that someone doesn't have to go somewhere else when we have world-class doctors here in El Paso?
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Objective 2.7 was 100% complete, and objective 2.8 experienced some major disruption. Specifically, with this objective, the work under it was to increase the number of flights that came in, and currently the department is working on a post-COVID-19 phase-in activity to keep working on that task. Objective 2.5 is at 60%, and this relates to staff continues to work on finalizing the broadband inventory study that was being conducted or developed by the Community Foundation. And Objective 2.6 is at 70%, and that work is related with the collaboration with UTEP on aerospace initiatives, as you just referenced earlier. Next slide, please. Objective 2.11 was complete, and Objective 2.12 was discontinued, and this objective is specifically a duplicate of Objective 2.2. Objective 2.9 is at 50%, and the work that's ongoing related to that objective relates to supporting Fort Bliss, and the county's legislative agenda includes support and appropriations for Fort Bliss this past legislative session. Objective 2.10 is at 5%, and this deals with acquiring the necessary right-of-way to develop research park facilities as it relates to the Fabens Airport. And the approval, currently the Department of Planning and Development is pending the approval from the Federal Aviation Administration, and it was revised and moving forward to the next phase of the project.
Before we move from that one, Lizelle, I just want to mention, we had a meeting with Dr. Shaduri yesterday, Michael and I, regarding the Fabens Airport, and he wanted to really emphasize to us again how, he has a vision and bringing in contractors, and he doesn't want us to divert or go another path without close consultation with him. We're aware of that. We know that there are key stakeholder to that development out there, but he's extremely excited, and he has companies he's working to attract already for the hangars that we're working to build. And it's forward thinking. It will be setting us up for the long-term future. We're meeting with them out there tomorrow to look at what it would take to make the site ready for a possible NASA grant project, a new project above and beyond, but still related to aerospace. So just want to continue to emphasize, as we get excited too about other ideas and things out there, I think he could probably fill and use and build and attract 10 times the 5 hangars that we're looking at now. And so I promised him we won't lose sight of that, so I wanted to be sure to share it with the court, but really want to continue to emphasize what a partner they've been, and how much he's working to bring more classroom activities out there, and realizes that it'll spill over and down into the high school and all the schools and the students out there. So just...
Yeah, I had a conversation with him, and I did reach out because he was saying that sometimes he's heard that other people are fielding the aerospace industry without the knowledge that he has, and the possibility that you lose an opportunity because he's not in the front or at the table. And so I did have conversations with, the board with Borderplex and the chambers, and to say, look, this is our leading expert. We should be channeling things. I think everybody's pretty open to that, so I'm glad he's very open about what he needs to do. The other thing that would be important for us is that one of the things he struggles with is that there's the little infrastructure. He would like to see offices and, apartments and things like that. And so I've been meeting with a lot of different people, met with people yesterday that are interested in building, and I'm encouraging them to look at that. One of the challenges that they have is that a lot of that property is state-owned. And so, there's very little actually privately owned property around the Fabens. So we might have to reach out also to the state to see what is it that they could do to help us with that? Because he says it's really difficult to bring people to work there, and they're coming from, 30, 40 miles away instead of having their office space there or having, bed and breakfast or whatever it is, hotels, anything that it's there. I talked to the hotel association as well.
He'd like to work with us possibly to get a grant to do a community master plan. So not just near the airport, even if there were apartments, a few miles down the road.
Exactly.
Things that would make it near and convenient. So that's what he spoke with us about yesterday. Jose, Sal Alonso, Michael, myself, we're meeting with him tomorrow out there at the site.
Excellent.
And we'll discuss further the concept to bring back to the court on the master planning. But he really is trying to build an overall ecosystem to support aerospace with our Fabens Airport. So
Excellent. Great
Thank you,
feedback.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. Objective 2.13 has been completed. Objective 2.14 is at 50%. And then this again relates to the Fabens Airport, and this is investing in a right-of-way acquisition. A letter of support was submitted to TxDOT and which asked for CIP funding for this project. Objective 2.15 is at 73%, and the work that's still pending on this objective relates to free meals for children, specifically in Anthony, Fabens, and Clint ISD, and currently the Parks and Recs Department is coordinating these free meals for children when they're out of school. Next slide, please. Showcase in the spotlight for economic development. I have some pictures of before and after of the Fabens Airport, and these pictures were provided by Ms. Norma from Facilities.
from Public Works.
From Public Works, thank you. Next slide, please. So next we are in goal 3, and this is increasing tourism. Progress in this goal is 48%. There are 6 objectives and 15 milestone activities. Objective 3.1 is 100% complete, and objective 3.2 is at 28%. Works that's still ongoing through this objective relates to historic preservation efforts, and specifically the staff from Economic Development is working with the El Paso County Historical Society. They most recently hosted a Place Economics webinar where they had a significant attendance of 80 participants. And the Heritage Tourism Coordinator is developing a scope of work which will be presented to Commissioners Court for approval later this year, in 2020. Objective 3.3 is at 42%, and this deals with the all-inclusive Abilities Park. And most recently, there was a groundbreaking at Gallegos Park and also at Escarete Park to start the work in the Meadows All Abilities Playwork. So it moved from a planning phase to an actual construction phase.
Yay, I get to see Escarete Meadows in print.
This is online and in our strategic plan.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. Objective 3.5 is at 100% complete, and objective 3.4 is at 65% complete. And pending work under this objective relates to modernizing the county coliseum, and a study is underway and will include recommendations for restoration and upgrades to the coliseum. Objective 3.6 is at 39%, and there's quite a bit of work under this objective. The first is pontoon boats for the lake, and this is part of what was submitted for approval for CIP funding for fiscal year 2022. Increasing events and a multi-purpose facility, as well as San Felipe off-highway vehicle trails. This is part of the recommendations and what the Parks and Departments will, the Park and Recreations Department will move forward as part of their master plan to move this work forward. And actually, there's also attracting more activities to the park, and Parks and Recreation and Economic Development are working together and collaborating to develop plans along the Mission Trail.
Excellent.
Next slide, please. In the spotlight is the flyers and marketing conducted by the Parks and Rec Department to bring awareness and increase tourism with a Night of Hope. As you can see, we showcase a picture of people looking at the missions and the lights in Azcárate Park. Next, we move on to goal number 4, which is upgrading infrastructure. This is the progress of this goal is at 80%. There are 8 objectives and 34 milestone activities associated with this. Objective 1.4 is at 83% complete, and the work under this objective relates to private partnerships with CNG. Mr. Hopeton, he's the director of the Fleet Department, has pushed this milestone activity to 2022, so it's part of the strategic plan that was restarted in October of this year. Objective 4.2 is at 90% complete, and the activity related to this objective deals with coordinating the development of necessary interlocal agreements. And currently, the department is awaiting comments from the Secretary of State. The next 2 items that are related, or work that is under 4.2, relate to the stormwater. One of the activities is creating a maintenance plan, a 5-year maintenance plan, and the other is acquiring the property project issue as part of fiscal year 2021 stormwater cycle related to the Cest Pond. Next slide, please. Yes, sir.
As I look at this and the current news insofar as federal funding for infrastructure upgrades, I know that a lot of money is going to be coming to our region, and we may have to recalibrate this a little bit depending on what the definition is and how much is declared coming to El Paso County. Do you have any maybe advanced information?
Yes, I do. Part of the fiscal year 2022, that was what I called reset and refresh, is very specific to the projects that are going to be covered through ARP funding. And another recommendation that Betsy Keller and I had spoken about was the idea of adding funding sources to these objectives, so you have specific information if it's being funded by operations or it's being funded from ARP funding or CIP funding or grant funded. So it gives you a better picture of how that is progress, where it's coming from in terms of funding.
And that includes the federal new infrastructure funding?
Right. So, Commissioner, we don't know those exact amounts yet. Every report, like the November legislative report that we received from Claudia Russell, I think it was earlier this week, I've shared it with all of our team. We continue to get information from NACO about how that infrastructure bill is going to be funneled down. As we get those details, we are all watching very closely to see how we can make sure we're pulling as much as possible for our community and how we're going to have to integrate that. One of the things, and we always tell the court, so you'll see in here, IT, some of their projects delayed because we had to shift to remote work. We may have to shift some of our projects that weren't ARP or infrastructure bill funded. We may have to shift our focus to those so we can pull down as much as possible, and we'll be transparent with you when we come forward and be inclusive to be inclusive of that. So yes, sir. Thank you for mentioning that.
Objective 4.5. Did I cover all the information in that slide? I believe I did. Okay, next slide, please. Objective 4.5 and 4.6 have been completed. Objective 4.3 is at 20%, and this relates to the Fabens Airport. Specifically, the latest development is the EDA grant that was secured, and staff is currently revising plans, and work is on its way for this objective. Objective 4.4 is at 95% complete, and this deals with updates and modifications to the courthouse. The work under this objective is ongoing, and most recent work was the elevators. And as you heard in the presentation earlier, they're also looking at ADA compliance in terms of making the restrooms compliant and continuing to revitalize the facility. Other work is conduct a study to adding green space, and this is at 90% complete, and this is specific to green space in the parking garage. Next slide, please. Objective 4.7 is at 70% complete, and work pending under this objective relates to ongoing collaboration between agencies to update regulations and minimize conflicts and discrepancies in terms of subdivision design standards. Work also is ongoing in terms of adopting and enforcing park designs and standards to explore implementing innovative park designs, building functional park administration office building, and building private and special events areas or designating these areas. And also part of this objective is increasing parking at the Sportsplex, which has been submitted for CIP funding allocations.
If I can just expand on those two areas. The first three areas that Dr. Madrigal was mentioning about the park design standards, all of that is in your parks master plan. So that it will basically be contingent upon once we determine how to best fund that plan to move forward. And then also on the sports park parking, the cost for paving that, we're not allowed to use road and bridge funds because it's not a road or bridge. And so we are continuing, it's more than we would be able to fund through our CIP penny. It would eat up over 33% of it. So that is one that we're recommending be included in the next debt issuance that the county issues, or we'll do it in segments as we look for funding availability.
Thank you, Betsy. No, 4.8. 4.8 is on track, and the work related to that, we just heard more about it through the PACE program. My biggest takeaway from this earlier presentation is that 11% of the county workforce is a veteran, so that means that a little over 1 in 10 county employees are veterans, and this is part of the PACE program that they were discussing.
That's a different PACE program.
Okay, I take that back.
This PACE program is we have not had a lot of success. We are continuing to promote the PACE program. This is the program that's available for private businesses to be able to get loans for making improvements to their buildings to be more efficient. So it might be replacing the type of air conditioning or plumbing or energy use of the building. We have contracted with Texas PACE to do this work for us. We have not had as much success here locally with the utilization of the program. We've continued to market. It's their job and their contract to market it also. But it is a program that's available for businesses to do those kinds of improvements to their own facilities with low interest loans.
What's been the barriers for their success?
I don't know whether it's just the lack of them having a presence locally. Because they run the program all over. They are one of the providers all over the state. And previously, and it's been a few years back, we had another company propose to compete against PACE to provide services. And they came in and talked about how they were the original PACE program. They knew it inside and out. We continued to utilize them. But we just have not had a lot of successful PACE programs. And so it's really about energy efficiency, about, making businesses be more energy efficient and get the funds to do it. And then the savings pays for the loan, generally, the cost of the loan. And there's a guarantee to that. but we just haven't had as much success with anyone taking them up on those programs.
When you're saying, because you're comparing it to the other PACE programs in other communities, and
So we do get notice of when there's another program, a PACE, like for example, PACE notifies us when we get like their press releases, like this business in San Antonio, successful PACE program. I don't even see a ton of those. So I don't even find that it's being well utilized across the state. I don't know if there's just not interest.
it's just such
Or
an
lack of
important
knowledge.
initiative. I mean, just efficiency is such a cost saving. I mean, it could be dramatic, so.
And
whatever we
new
could
buildings
pursue.
obviously try to build it into the design. It's already, newer buildings or facilities build it in. But this is really geared at like older facilities that could benefit from a more energy efficient or utility efficient operation.
I think a good benchmark, I know BNVV has done exceptionally well with that, their efficiency and how they've done things to improve. So maybe
Their
we could bench
operations?
with Rosemary Castillo, see what they're doing, or James Baca would be another person.
So we can continue to work to increase the visibility of the PACE program, but when we talked about sustainable development, that was one of the elements was PACE. Another thing that the court meant when you said promote sustainable development, you also meant we should encourage more development where resources already exist versus the further out we promote development. You all, as a matter of fact, you renamed this goal or this objective. Originally, you all had two objectives. One was provide resources to where there is development, and one was prevent sprawl. And those are almost two conflicting approaches. So if you want to discourage sprawl, that you said, let's make just more sustainable development. We don't want to encourage people to continue to develop where there's no buses, no sidewalks, but we also want to take care of those who are already there. And so PACE is only one element of this goal or this activity. That's why we also talked about sustainable neighborhoods. It's really about looking at how we build and develop in the community and what we're doing to discourage people from going to locations where they don't have access to amenities. So, Judge, kind of like what you were saying earlier, accessibility is important to us, but we also want to discourage people from going places that make it more difficult
Absolutely.
to provide accessibility.
Organic growth is the best, because we're developing along with it. When they jump ahead of us, it just puts a lot of pressure on the county to
Yes, sir.
sustain
Correct.
that.
Thank you, Ms. Keller, for the correction.
No problem.
In the spotlight is a map of the proposed Faven sidewalks and what that work would look like. Next goal is promote collaboration and engagement. And this is, the progress of this goal is at 68%. It includes 9 objectives and 16 milestone activities. Objective 5.2 has been completed, and Objective 5.1 is ongoing. The work under this objective relates to the regional and binational collaboration, and specifically, Commissioners Court approved a position that will be posted and expected hiring as of April 2022. Objective 5.3 is on track, and that deals with increasing collaboration internally to increase cohesion and be able to obtain results. And county administration is meeting quarterly with elected officials to move this objective and work forward. Next slide, please. Objective 5.5 and 5.6 have been completed, and Objective 5.4 is at 62%. Work that's pending under this objective deals with increasing collaboration and reaching a common ground with other municipalities, including El Paso, City of El Paso. And the most recent update is that the county administration participated in the city's Community of Excellence Roundtable feedback, again, to give our input and learn more about what the city is doing in terms of their strategic planning. Next slide, please. Objective 5.7 is at 100% complete, as well as Objective 5.9. Objective 5.8 is at 20% complete, and this is to achieve the best place to work in Texas. And currently, HR is conducting research to be prepared to apply for this award.
They did get somewhat delayed on that award as they reshifted their focus to all the remote work policies and COVID-related policies that delayed this goal a little bit so that they could reshift their focus towards those issues.
In the spotlight for promoting collaboration and engagement is a banner marketing or encouraging people to take the 2020 census. And this was shared by Ms. Veronica Myers, the Director of Parks and Recreation.
Which is a great example of where we collaborated across the community on the work for the census.
Next slide, please. Goal 6 is Advanced Community Support Services, and this is at 83% complete. There are 8 objectives and 34 milestone activities related to this objective, to this goal. Objective 6.1 is at 100% complete, and Objective 6.2 is at 85% complete. Work on this objective that's ongoing includes the financing of construction and development for recent Reentry Transitional Center. A most recent update related to that is that ARPA funding was moved forward with approximately $10 million to move forward with this project, which will be in the planning phase. Another activity under this objective relates to the partnerships with El Paso Fighting Hunger, and based on the direction of the court, the NOFOs will be released, and El Paso Fighting Hunger, the agency, will be able to apply for those fundings and those opportunities. Next slide, please. Objective 6.3 was discontinued, and Objective 6.4 was completed. Objective 6.5 is at 10% complete, and this work relates to create public and private partnerships for workforce readiness. Currently, departments are working to bring back detailed programs for the future. Specifically, with the city of El Paso, the HR department hosted a number of trainings focused on getting back to work.
On number 6.3, that was combined back on the previous slide.
Yes.
The work under addressing homelessness.
So that's one of the ones you were mentioning that we combined, so we discontinued that specific.
Right, due to duplicate efforts. So it's
Okay.
all captured, all the work is captured under one objective. Next slide, please. This slide is very easy because all the work under this slide has been completed. Objective 6.6, Office for New Americans. Objective 6.7, identifying and supporting pilot programs to assist educational attainment. And Objective 6.8, implemented a kiosk to inform individuals of nearest housing or available beds. So in the spotlight for this goal is highlighting the work that's been done by the Office of New Americans. And here you have 2 pictures that showcase immigrants coming into El Paso being met by the staff from the Office of New Americans at the bridge. Next slide, please. Objective 7, value El Paso County family. In just a second, I lost my, I can't see that far. Okay. Objective 7.2 and 7.3 have been completed. Objective 7.1 is at 67% complete, and work related to this objective relates to specialized pay for very specialized certifications like the ASC certification. Hopeton Staple is working with HR to finalize what this pay will look like, and it's part of the fiscal 2022-2026 strategic plan. Also, under this objective is supporting policies for the executive team and others to promote retention. Currently, operations management policy has been submitted to review and includes a pilot program. And objective 7.4 is at 66%. Work under this objective relates to increasing job growth, career progression, plans for county employees. This is on track and will also be carried over to the fiscal 22-2026 strategic plan. Next slide, please. Objectives 7.5, 7.6, and 7.7 have been completed, and objective 7.8 was discontinued, and this was discontinued because it was part of the activity related in the previous slide, and then related to reducing voluntary work turnover. And again, this is part of the 2022-2026 strategic plan. Also, investment in supervisors, department heads to ensure culture of a strong culture. This activity and work will continue under the fiscal 2022-2026 strategic plan. I'll provide more details on what that work will look like and what programs will be rolled out when I provide an update to the first quarter of that strategic plan. Next, the next slide is in the
Betsy,
spotlight.
just real quick,
Yes,
we
sir.
know that law enforcement had, high turnover, a lot of retirements and so forth. Do we help does HR, focus on that particular area as well to help them see what do we need to do to get more to apply and that we have retention? And because I think this was very identifiable that their retirement was extremely high.
So are you talking about on the recruitment side?
No,
So-
well, not some recruitment, but also.
So when they have a high retirement, I don't really, a lot of times retirement isn't considered, the type of voluntary turnover we were talking about addressing is the type where people leave because they're dissatisfied with their supervision.
Well, but in essence, there was some, it was tied into that, right? People retired 2, 3, 4 years quicker.
Because of the pandemic.
Big pandemic and stuff. I was just wondering if do we sort of target and say, how do we help them, one, retain, that we don't have that coming up again when they need to retire, and then secondly, are we recruiting adequately? Because it's difficult now to recruit for healthcare, law enforcement, teachers for some reason, so.
I'll need to get updated numbers on that, Judge. Normally, we have had an abundance of applications for law enforcement. I'm talking 1,500 to 3,000 applicants. I'll need to get an updated number on what those applicant pools look like.
Okay, and maybe more so on the retention, how do we keep, because what we want is, experienced officers or deputies and so forth. So anyway, just thought of that when I remembered that they had a high retirement, are we, do we know why they retired earlier?
Yeah, that's a good point, Judge. I will tell you, there were some cases specifically I remember where individuals did request some kind of innovative scheduling or reassignment and things like that. And because it's such a large organization, they weren't able to because once they accommodated it for some individuals, they'd have to accommodate it for everybody.
Everybody, yeah.
And I believe the sheriff wasn't willing to jeopardize the overall program for those particular cases. But I think he had very good reason behind his approach.
Oh, okay.
So, but that's a really good area. We can ask for some data to see what data is
And how do
available.
we help them to? Okay,
I definitely know some people, long-term people. I personally know a few people in the sheriff's office who left during the pandemic just because of the risk.
Thank you, Betsy.
On that subject, we might want to approach we'll take it is to find out how many are eligible for retirement. So for planning purposes, not to say that they're going to retire, but where will we be if let's say 20% of the force is eligible to retire, and let's say tomorrow they put in the application for retirement, where would we be if that should happen? Not to say it's going to happen, but say for planning purposes.
Anticipate that.
Just so you have an idea. Well, we got X number of the force is going to retire or eligible to retire this year.
Some forecasting information. And the spotlight for this survey is information, the Gallup survey that was issued to employees that might give us a better insight into those specific questions that you're asking. We could get the data and bring back our information specific to that, and not only to the Sheriff's Department, but to the county as a whole in terms of where they are and what their employment situation is. Next slide, please. Strengthen financial health, goal 8. The progress of this goal is at 88%. There are 8 objectives and 21 milestone activities. Objective 8.2 has been completed, or the work under this objective has been completed. Objective 8.1 is at 75% complete. And this work relates to developing a strategy to enhance CIP funding, enhance revenue collections, and this work is specific to the Financial Recovery Office, which is working on rolling out an app with the ITD team. Their slated date to develop this app is January 2022. Also, work pending under this objective is explore opportunities for sponsorships and advertising, and this is visiting with key staff for opportunities in advertising through grants or other funding sources. Slide, please. Objective 8.3 and 8.4 have been completed, and Objective 8.5 relates to participatory budgeting, and this is develop a participatory budgeting strategy. I had the opportunity to work with Mr. Hargrove to develop a rollout plan that includes a community survey that's very specific to the 8 outcomes, the 9 outcomes by the county, getting some feedback as well as the county budget. We should be ready to roll out that plan and implement that survey in spring of 2022. Next slide, please. Objective 8.7 and 8.8 were completed, and Objective 8.6 was discontinued. And this one, again, was discontinued because it's a duplicate of the work that's being done under Objective 8.5. Next slide. Here, we're showcasing the award received for Distinguished Budget Presentation Award that was issued to the County of El Paso for fiscal year beginning in October 1st, 2020. Next slide, please. Goal 9 is at 86%, and this includes 5 objectives and 14 milestone activities. 9.1 has been completed. 9.2 is at 94%, and this includes improved county public works development output. Currently, the department is implementing software enterprise solutions, and the latest update is that there was a soft launch of the software and some training, and they're working out those bugs to be able to roll it out for public use. Objective 9.4 is at 74% complete, and this relates to the AOT platform. This work will be resumed, and is the example that I provided that was paused, and work was shifted again to address issues with the pandemic and make sure that all county employees were able to telework. This work will resume in the Strategic Plan 2022-2026. Next slide, please.
I just want to make a quick note on your behalf, Dr. Madrigal, under 9.1. We did intend to, at some point, create a data research team for department metric and performance. She is the team.
Party of one.
Team one. Team Madrigal.
Thank you. I do rely on other resources to get all the information, great collaboration with other departments. And Objective 9.4 and 9.5 were completed. And the first one, 9.4, relates to assessing current business processes. And Objective 9.5 relates to introducing Lean Six Sigma culture to the county. I'm very proud of this project. We rolled out a program called EP Exceed. We had 3 trainings this past fiscal year, and about a little over 100 participants that are now using some of the tools provided by Lean Six Sigma, again, to improve processes in the county. And our next phase of the program is to continue training and also to implement a team that will help us address larger issues in terms of how to improve and how to continuously engage in a culture of process improvement. Next slide, please. In the spotlight, I'm showcasing some of the GIS training that is going on, and also I'm going to send a shout out to the Veterans Office. They took the information they got from the training, they run with it, and then implemented a small project in their office, again, to enhance some of the strategies and how goods and services are delivered by having efficiencies in the office and organized information and better standards. And I also have some pictures of some of the trainings and how they use some of the tools to learn how to clean up their office, improve their processes, and again, be more efficient and effective. And with that, last slide.
Betsy, real quick on that one.
Yes,
Have we officially announced the new purchasing?
I don't know that, I mean, they have publicly, the purchasing board publicly notified who they were offering the position to, but I do not know that they have publicly
Okay. I asked
announced it.
because that person is highly trained in Six Sigma. So as soon as, when she comes on board, that you could reach out to her because she's got a lot of experience in black belt six. I think she was at one time black belt certified, so.
That's a great note to us because just yesterday, Dr. Madrigal and I were discussing our team to do the written portion for our application, and we were identifying team members who might be good to help write that. So
We're applying for the commitment level of the Quality of Texas Malcolm Baldrige Award this next fiscal year, and we need a writing team to help us move forward that application.
Well, I can help. I was an examiner for the Malcolm Baldrige Quality Award, both at the state level and national level, so anything I could do to
Excellent. We want to
review that.
ensure that Ms. Keller and the court walks across the stage and receives that award for commitment to process improvement and quality work for the County of El Paso.
Thank you. That's great.
And with that last update, the court has been informed on the progress and status of the strategic plan for the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2021. These updates together show the progress has been successful in moving forward the goals of the strategic plan and advancing the mission, vision, and core values of excellence, professionalism, integrity, and creativity. Again, just 90% of the plan was on track or had been completed, and the progress of the plan was at 77%. We reset and we refreshed, and the new strategic plan or the refocused strategic plan has a life of fiscal year 2022 through 2026. And again, in January, I'll bring back update of how that strategic plan is moving forward. Can I answer any questions for the court?
No, I'd like to thank you for two things. Obviously, your passion in moving us forward, but what a great job of making it more succinct, because there's a tendency that it's just sort of overwhelming with information, and you've always done a great job of sort of keeping it aligned, and so thank you for that.
Thank you, thank you. This is very exciting.
Judge, I also learned that we also have another, black belt in government, Kathy Jones, can also help us with that.
Oh, my goodness.
I want a team of black belts so they could help us move forward some of the projects that need tackling to improve those processes.
That's excellent. Thank you for volunteering. Can you put her in your team of one
Publicly
over there?
volunteering.
Could she be part of the team of one for Madrigal?
Judge, I also want to just echo your accolades to Dr. Madrigal. She has, honestly, the year and a half of the pandemic, when we went to remote, she was a fairly new employee. I became very distracted to other pandemic issues that we were facing initially. And, I would tell her, take this, get this program, like you saw the training, the EP Exceed program, get it off the ground. With very little help or resources, she had to figure it out. She always did. And you're right about her passion. I have never seen anyone who loves data more than me. And she blows me out of the water. So we're really lucky to have her. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be part of the team that has as much energy and passion for what we do. as Betsy and all the other team members, I'm very happy to be part of the team, and I dig data. Any data-related questions you have, if I don't know them, I'll find it. But researcher, and now I know I could go to different people. Kathy, I'm looking at you, to move this forward, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Caesar.
Item number 10, receive a presentation from the Planning and Development Department and the Camino Real Regional Mobility Authority regarding the county major capital transportation portfolio. We'd like to ask for a motion to delete this item. It will be presented at the following special meeting in January.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Holguín.
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
Commissioner Stout.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson has stepped out of the meeting. Judge Samaniego.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Catherine, is this your debut, or had
My
you?
debut, sir.
Item number 11, receive a presentation and department update on the Criminal Justice Coordination Department.
Honorable Commissioners, County Judge, thank you so much for allowing me to be here today in my very first of what I hope will be many presentations to you throughout the years. I want to state for the record, I never wanted to immediately follow Dr. Madrigal, okay? You just took a month-long cruise on the Queen Anne, and you're about to take a 3-hour tour on the SS Minnow. So, expectations down a little bit. But I am honored to be here to highlight some of the things that we have done and to talk about what we accomplished during our last fiscal year. Do I have control over the slide? Immediately, one of the things I wanted to do when I arrived was update our vision statement, our mission statement. And as you see here, we have the vision to be the recognized leader in enhancing pretrial justice. We are going to take it a step above that, and we are going to become the preeminent pretrial service agency in the world, okay? That is where we are headed. We have such an incredible foundation already. You have a great group here, and it's just my pleasure to be able to come on board and steer them in a couple new directions. As you will see, our mission statement has been updated a bit. One of the things that I wanted to include in here, which is important to me, is the part providing pretrial alternatives to incarceration for persons accused of crimes while improving their ability to live productively in our community. I think that is fundamental to what we do in pretrial services. And I added a value statement here. I want all of my staff's work to be guided by our belief and our commitment to ethical, authentic, and professional work, where we value the rights and dignity of every human being. I come from a world where I was trained as a rehabilitationist. What we do right now is the first step in rehabilitation for anyone who enters the criminal justice system. The way we interact, the way we deal with people will set the tone for everything that comes after us. So it is fundamentally important to me that we set the appropriate tone and we treat everyone with the dignity that they deserve. You'll notice a little tagline on there, maximizing liberty and public safety. We did a department-wide little contest, and I asked all my staff to submit ideas for taglines, and this is what my manager and I came up with at the end. So we are very proud of that we have staff who participated. Next slide, please. Okay, so what we do. In case you're curious, just some of the things that my staff do on a daily basis. We have 2 divisions, intake. They do your El Paso County pretrial risk assessments, your financial affidavits, indigent assessments, attorney eligibility screening, criminal history services, and bond contract interviews. Our supervision division is doing bond condition supervision, the possession of marijuana first chance program, alcohol monitoring, alcohol and drug testing, treatment referrals, mental health referrals, court reminders, case manager meetings, court appearances, and the 48-hour bond hearings. Next slide, please. I don't know about you, but I am so sick of looking at that COVID molecule. It drives me crazy, but here it is again. I just wanted to highlight some of the incredible work my team did during the pandemic response. I was not here for any of it, okay? I've been here for 4 months, but I'm going to stand before you and take some credit now. They did 100% on-site work, 24/7 in the downtown jail, all right? 365 days a year. Even when COVID was spreading in our teeny little office, my manager, Tom Laura, managed, okay, to be able to keep our shifts staffed and be able to perform the core functions that we have to provide on a daily basis. Our supervision officers came to the office every day. They continued to do their work throughout this. And I think you're going to see how successful they are in a few slides with our outcomes. My staff went above and beyond. I want you to know my manager, Jacob Garcia, physically drove to judges' houses to get documents signed throughout the pandemic so that the work of the courts and the criminal justice system could continue. We had to get creative. We couldn't see people in person, so we had to get creative in how we supervised them, and my staff did an incredible job. I also want to thank the Commissioner's Court and County Administration because I know how much you appreciated the work that was done and how you have, on numerous occasions, thanked your staff, and I just want you to know we appreciate it. So I'm going to start with a few outcomes from fiscal year 2021 from our intake division. You will see that we did 12,848 pretrial reports at the jail. That averages to approximately 35 a day. We did 17,154 indigent assessments, which is approximately 47 a day. We have just over 63% of those people who applied eligible. What is an interesting note is that we had fewer people eligible this year, this past fiscal year, than years prior. One of the reasons we believe is that unemployment gave people additional income during COVID, so they just fell under the indigent assessment eligibility. Next slide, please. As they did the pretrial risk assessments, you will see that the majority of people fell into our standard. We had 3,947 in standard, and just over 3,200 in enhanced, about 2,800 in our intensive level, and 2,500 in our admin, which is our easiest to handle. Next slide, please. Our supervision division. So what I'm providing here are the bond types that were given for fiscal year 2021. You will see that the majority of these bonds were financial, okay, which meant they were either cash or they were surety bonds, meaning individuals put up 10% of the total in order to be bonded out of jail. 2,500 of them were straight PR bonds. 1,500 of them were split bonds, meaning they were part cash or part surety and part PR. So those individuals were also supervised by our office. So between the PR and the split bonds, we got 4,056 new clients for 14 supervision officers, which meant an average of 290 new clients. So right now, my staff is averaging approximately 317 clients per supervision officer. That is overwhelming. The national average depends upon whose theories you buy into, is between 150 and 200 per supervision officer. So what I want to note there is my staff works incredibly hard, incredibly hard. In spite, next slide, please. In spite of having so many clients per supervision officer, I want to bring your attention down to our closed case compliance. For every case we closed, 87% of those clients were not rearrested. Okay, that is staggering. That is fantastic. 73% completely complied with all of their conditions, and 96% appeared in court every time. So my staff is doing something right. They are doing it well, and this happened during the pandemic without reporting in person, okay? These are incredible outcomes. Next slide, please. So, being new, I get the liberty of coming in and making some changes. I am a process person. I think it goes to a lot of my Lean Six Sigma training, okay? I like to look at the overall process and see what we can do, what we can change. I have my managers here with me today, Tom Lahr and Jacob Garcia. Their dichotomy in dress is indicative of their dichotomy in personality. And I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't believe anywhere else but El Paso I could come in and I could find two people who every day, when I walk in and I go, you know what, guys, I got an idea. And they step up and they smile and they say, okay, Ms. Jones, what is it? Let's see if we can implement it. So they have been phenomenal, and I just want to recognize them for their great work.
Excellent.
Day number 2, I asked my staff, why are all of my supervision and service officers on the same level? I have people who've been here for 6 years and people who've been here for 6 days, and they were all equal. So with the help of HR and the support of county administration, we have started a tiered classification system. So I now have senior officers, intermediate officers, and entry-level officers. So we have been able to promote 2 individuals in each division to become senior officers. This is because it is a best practice. We need people to be able to recognize that they have movement options within an organization. We don't want to lose people because there's nowhere for them to go. It is also my fundamental belief that succession planning is a part of my job. If I'm not identifying staff who can move up to the next levels, if I'm not identifying and mentoring people who can take my place when I'm gone, then I'm not doing my job. And so this is part of that system. Another thing I noticed, we were spreading out our caseloads amongst all of our officers. So you might have 25 DWIs, you might have 15 mental health cases. Unless you specialize in specific areas, unless you specialize in DWI and you can recognize the techniques that people are doing to try to get around their breathalyzers, their interlock systems, then you're not, I mean, unless you specialize in it, then you don't fully understand the complexities of the DWI. So we created DWI supervision officers, and their sole focus is working on DWI. Right now, we have 5 of them, okay, which is shocking, but we have 5 DWI officers out of our 14. The other area, I am a big advocate for doing whatever we can to help individuals with mental health issues. We have a mental health supervision officer now, and she solely specializes in working with people who have mental health issues. Prior to that, it's difficult for an officer to be able to become intimately familiar with the needs of each of their clients. This way, we poached her from EHN. I'm very proud of that. She is a very bright young woman. She is just jumping in head first and doing a phenomenal job. And she can recognize instances where someone calls and they say something that signals her, and she can work to get them the mental health services that they need at that time. So specialized caseloads. You mentioned this earlier, Judge, the DIMS program. So one thing we have done is move our location in the jail. We have gone from the first floor to the second floor. So we are up, ready, and able to begin the entire new booking process as soon as that MOU is signed.
Excellent.
Moving the PR bond contract interviews to intake. This is just an operational process that I think really needed to be tweaked. Our intake division needs to do all intake, okay? And so it sounds like a small change. It's not. It is a big change. 6 years of doing it one way. We are now changing it where our intake officers will be conducting all contract interviews and alleviating some of the work for our supervision staff so that they can supervise their 317 clients. I'm creating a complete policy and procedure manual. I am a policy and procedural geek. I love it. I love writing it. I love everything about it. And so that is an initiative I have undertook since I have been here. Right now, we have standard operating procedures that are kind of mishmashed. So we get something, everybody's on the same page. We have uniformity of services. And satellite booking. This is something we are changing right now. We are working, the Sheriff's Department has been incredible in working with me. And as we communicated and discussed, when satellite booking was started, we didn't have fast-track booking on the first floor of the jail. Now we have fast-track booking. So people can go over there and be seen immediately. Right now at our satellite booking office, we have to wait until someone from the sheriff's office can come over to be there during the booking process. So we'll be saving them time and energy, and we'll be saving money when we move everything over to fast-track booking, in and out very quickly. So it'll be an improved service. Next slide, please. Another thing that I will take full credit for that I had absolutely nothing to do with is the inaugural CJC annual report, fiscal year 2020. Joel Bishop, my wonderful boss, and Jose Deborah created this incredible report. If you haven't read it yet, I highly encourage you to look at it because it gives you an incredible insight into everything we do and the outcomes. So I will send that to your offices in case you don't have it. I also wrote, while I was here, a little white paper. Tells you a little bit about my philosophy on pretrial services. I will send that to you. It is very dry. It is very boring, but it's short. So I will send that on to your offices in case you are interested. Next slide, please. So moving forward, I am huge into collaboration and partnerships, and I'm very excited that we are working with TCUME, the Texas Correctional Office on offenders with medical or mental impairments, to help provide better mental health needs for our clients. We are working with our own reentry department here. They have done training for us, and we are working to see where we can partner on projects going forward. And a little outside of the box, the El Paso Downtown Management District. We have just worked with them to create a partnership where all of our clients who need community service hours will be going to them to be able to pick up trash downtown, provide sanitation needs. So they'll be helping us to fulfill our clients' community service. Staff training and development is something that I am working on very strongly with my department. I know the county has a policy on ethics training. I'm increasing that to 4 hours for my department. I believe that if your criminal justice department isn't leading the county in this area and isn't getting fully trained, then I'm not doing my job. So I am enhancing the normal training requirements that HR has for everyone. And Senate Bill 6, you've heard a lot about it. You're going to continue to hear a lot about Senate Bill 6. I don't think anyone fully knows the ramifications of Senate Bill 6 right now. We are participating in all the work groups with the judges, and the one thing we do know is that it's going to be increased workload for both of my divisions. We will have to create an additional report to provide to the judges, and some of the judges are suggesting there'll be even more supervision requirements for bonds. So, next slide. I wanted to give you a couple fun highlights. I'm not all work and change. I really genuinely like my staff. They are some good, solid people. I'm very impressed. So we did an inaugural holiday lunch this past Tuesday, and it was a lot of forced family fun. I'm big on forcing people to get to know each other, and we had a really great time. And Joel got to stop by, and that was very much appreciated. The next thing, when I got here, I realized that the Commissioner's Court and County Administration is very proactive in employee health, physical health, and mental well-being. So right after the gym opened, I said, you know what, let's do a departmental walking challenge, okay? What better time for our mental and physical health than during the holidays? Okay, you get stressed, you eat way too much, I eat way too much, and this is the best way for us to, as a group, work through some of those mental and physical health needs. So we're doing it, it started Monday, November 15th to February 15th. I thought after Valentine's Day would be a good day to end it with all that chocolate. It's teams of 4, and they're tracking their steps, and we've got some great prizes that are going to be given to our teams, thanks to our wellness staff and their assistance in making this happen. And we have 97% participation in our department. So I am so pleased and proud, and everybody's excited about it. So we've got people exercising. Finally, I wanted to remind you of the long-term impact that your criminal justice coordination department is having. 65% improvement in reduced time in jail for PR bonds. That is important because we know the longer someone stays in jail, 2 days, 3 days, the more at risk they are for recidivism. They lose family ties, they lose their jobs. So the faster we can get them out, the better for everyone. 13% increase in serious felonies housed in the jail. That's important because we want the serious felons to be housed in the jail. Okay? That's who needs to be staying there. We've saved over 130,000 pretrial jail beds. That leads to a proportionate increase in the capacity you can have for your federal inmates, which means money for the sheriff. And we are in compliance with both laws and best practices, and that is something we will continue to do. That is all I have for you. That's supposed to say questions right there. It does not, but it is supposed to say questions. So.
Well, thank you for a lot, obviously a lot of things that very positive, but one, your alignment, you know, we're a county that takes care of their employees. You're aligning with HR, utilizing their support, the focus on mental health, both even in your own staff, but, you know, having to deal with, you know, we got to get ahead of this mental health challenges that we're going to have, and they're going to get, because of the pandemic, it'll be coming at us, a lot of delayed treatments and stresses and things that we need to be ready for. So I'm very thankful. And then obviously recognizing employees is so important. We try to do the best we can here to recognize our employees. Thank you for recognizing Tom and Jacob, and now I know why I saw Tom shooting up to the gym yesterday, trying to make up steps and inviting me as well. So, but no, thank you for that. And you know, you came in pretty much hit the road running, and And so we thank you. This is a great presentation to get us to understand. This is a great component of what we do. I mean, you know, this is a courthouse. We have a great relationship with the judicial judges, and this sort of aligns with that, to enhance that relationship, that we're trying to help them be successful. And so we thank you for that continued relationship with them.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Anything else? Do we have? Betsy, any?
No, Judge, just a thank you to Catherine and to the team, Jacob and Tom. We really appreciate the work they're doing for the county. And this is your, in your strategic plan, this is your #1 goal, lead justice reform. And this team is helping us do that, so we're very grateful. And we're so glad to have Catherine on the team. I will tell you, I have to share with you all a joke that happened to Catherine on her first day here. Ramon, who has a good sense of humor, she comes in and asks for Joel, and Ramon told her, oh no, he works in El Paso County, Colorado. And this is after she had relocated to El Paso County, Texas. But, so she still hasn't forgiven Ramon, but she's still doing a great job for us. And it did set the tone that we have fun, but we get the job done here.
Well, and thank you, because you were saying that sometimes you come in and people almost as if things got good from here this way, and you were very, you know, gracious and generous with about the foundation that we've had and the work that's been done. I mean, a lot of work, a lot of decisions at Commissioner's Court, and to be where we're at, and just to know we need to keep that trajectory to be one of the best. I was thinking in the nation. I think she said in the world. So one up me on that one. So
I am. I believe that we can reach that. I do. I think I give you all incredible praise for the work you have done in creating this department. It is wonderful. And you know, you can always tweak things here and there, but you have good staff. You have a great foundation, and
well, thank you, Catherine. Thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you for
Tom,
being
Jacob.
so nice on my first presentation.
Yeah, thank you. You did very well. Thank you. Caesar.
That concludes all the items on our agenda today, sir.
Well, thank you. Meeting adjourned, and thank everybody, our translators back there. Thank you for everything that you do, and everyone here. Great, very well done, Betsy. I think people are understanding. We're meeting Commissioner Holguin's objective of like a workshop, you know, items that we could talk about and learn about and keep them away from the Monday kind of situation. So this felt very different than our Monday Commissioner's Court, and I think that's what Commissioner came in with fresh eyes and said we need to sort of look at this a little different. And I think today, don't you think, was more? It didn't feel like a Monday, like what we go through in the typical things that we do. So thank you for
Thank you, Judge, for that and for supporting that. And I will tell you, it does help for these workshops, the way we had Dr. Madrigal sitting, it does feel more like a workshop, like we're batting around ideas, taking in input. And so we're working to try to do that going forward for your special meetings as well, as long as we still have to have them in this room. We're working to try to create that environment too. And keep the agenda items.
Before you throw in a couple of items for us to vote on. And so we're keeping them separate from this, and even if Monday's longer, this is really nice to not get it convoluted with all these smaller things. So thank you for that. Erica, thank you.
Judge, this is our last meeting before we will be breaking for the next couple weeks. The court doesn't meet the next couple weeks.
That's correct.
So the next meeting for Commissioners Court is December 6th.
6th. Perfect. Well, thank you. Meeting adjourned.
I'm sorry,
Oh.
Betsy, will any of the deadlines for getting items onto the agenda be changed at all, just because of the holiday schedule?
No, the December 6th deadline to get the agenda items on will still be the prior Wednesday. So the deadline to get the agenda items on for the 6th will be December 1st. And before we adjourn, I did want to follow up with you on a question you asked earlier about the DIMS, it has not been signed. This was just setting up the line items for when, it is still progressing, we're still in communication, but that one is still pending. And then there was some other information that's been requested that we'll get and follow up with you all via email.
Thank you. Okay, Caesar.
This concludes today's meeting at 11:48 a.m.
Okay, who won?